Welcome back to Real Talk, episode 190. I'm your host, Nathan. I'm joined by the man himself, Matthew Neves. To
Thank,
my left,
thank you, thank you.
today, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting off a new series. We're calling it Sleeper Hits,
hmm
talking about some lower budget films, some films that maybe didn't get attention from big directors that we all know and love.
hmm
And we're starting with Mean Streets, Martin Scorsese's breakout film.
Absolutely. I wanted to do this series for a while now because I feel like a lot of people who want to get into film and wonder like, "Oh, how did these directors do it?" It's like we got to start from the beginning sometimes, you know? Some examples would be like Robert Rodriguez's El Mariachi,
Yeah,
Kevin Smith's Clerks, and I feel like there's so many more examples from amazing directors, young and old, that we can go into. But I feel like the first episode should be Mean Streets.
of course. Marty, my favorite director, one of the greats. And Mean Streets is one of those movies, like as far as like first, breakout films of like you see Marty's style that we
Mhm.
see for the next 40 years,
Basically.
in this film.
Yeah.
Basically, this is him finding the formula, rough around the edges, and that's what I love and kind of appreciate about it. So,
Mhm.
Mean Streets is one of those films. Like you've seen the poster, you
Yep.
know Marty, you've seen the poster, but maybe you haven't watched the whole film. Given it a chance. Like
Mhm.
it's not the first one you're gonna go to when you think of Marty. You're gonna go to
Of
Casino or
course.
Goodfellas or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's why we want to shed some light on it. Maybe we'll put you on a movie you haven't seen before with this series. So
Mhm.
Mean Streets. Let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it. So, to start off with Mean Streets, a lot of people think that like Scorsese started with this film,
Yeah, that's true.
but it's not. It's actually his third directed film. His first film he directed was Who's That Knocking at My Door back in 67, which didn't do well at the box office, but got pretty good reviews for the most part. Then he directs Boxcar Bertha with David Carradine, and that film just bombs. It
Right.
bombs even harder and got shit reviews. It's actually his worst reviewed film still.
Wow.
So at this point in Scorsese's career, he could have easily said like, "All right, I'm done with movies." No,
He's technically a failure as a director at this point in time in his career.
yeah, exactly. So he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm like 30. Like, I'm just gonna move on to something else." But instead, he makes Mean Streets. He makes something that's more in line to his upbringing, his roots and stuff like that, his
It's
culture.
personal.
And I kind of fuck with that, especially considering like this is a major risk for him. This movie is more expensive than the previous two movies. And it's kind of like he's gonna take a third chance, and if this thing doesn't do well, he's fucked. He's just
Yeah.
completely fucked. But instead, it's the movie that kind of brings out every single style that he continues to do for the rest of his life. If this film didn't exist, he would not have been able to make any of his other films.
Absolutely not. Yeah, this film pioneered a lot. It's interesting giving the context, like imagining that this film came out when nobody really knew the name Martin Scorsese.
No.
He's pretty much a failed director
Yeah.
at this point
Mhm.
with two commercial failures.
Yeah.
And he has a tough time funding this film. This film does not have a $10 million budget, ladies and
Nope.
gentlemen. The budget of this film is $500,000.
Yeah.
And it was mostly funded by a man named Jonathan Taplin, who was the road manager for bands at the time.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Taplin believed in Scorsese's vision and helped him raise the budget, roughly 500,000, by securing some private investors and
Mhm.
connections he had in the music industry.
That makes sense, considering he made documentaries on various artists during that time as well. Like, a little bit after, but still.
Right, right.
Fuck, wow. With Mean Streets, though, that I fully respected is kind of like you get the first collab with him and De Niro, you get Harvey Keitel in there, you get a few other actors that you might have seen in other mob movies and stuff. They just look a lot younger.
Yeah, the biggest curveball was the guy from Sopranos. I need
Richie
his
Aprile. Fucking Richie Aprile.
Richie Aprile, young,
Yeah.
handsome, full head of hair.
Yeah.
Richie Aprile in this movie. I
Fuck,
was
man.
like,
That fucked me up, man.
also great performance. Like
Mhm.
I really love his character.
Yeah.
The fight scene
Yeah.
in the bar, he's so great in that scene. Like young Richie Aprile, man. Shout out to him. I'm gonna get his names because he
David
deserves
Preval.
David Preval. Yeah, he deserves the credit, man.
He's amazing in this. What I really liked about this film too, which really gave off the Scorsese style, is the introduction of all four of the characters.
Yeah.
Get Johnny, Charlie, Tony, and what was the other guy? Was his name Michael? I think it was
Yeah,
Michael.
exactly, Michael.
Michael. All 4 of
Michael's
them.
like his cousin who's like the real boss, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and they all have the white text right after they do something. My favorites is, Michael, because he's the one that couldn't tell the difference between, a lens
Yeah.
and the converter,
Right.
so he's like, "Oh, fuck," and stuff, and they just put his name there. Obviously, De Niro's is the crowd pleaser one, because he's the one that plants the bomb and it fucking explodes, and people are like,
Great
"Yo!"
intro, too.
What a great intro on
Yeah.
his part, man. Um,
Even the first seconds of this film is Martin Scorsese giving a narration,
yeah,
as recently as Killers of the Flower Moon, we get this, like
yeah,
that ending of Killers of the Flower Moon, I was like, "Oh, there's signs of, like,
mhm.
he did this in the '70s."
He's been
He's just
doing
talking over it, like, giving,
yes,
like, this insight into his own film.
right,
I was like, "Oh, that this is so cool." And there's a beautiful line that I'm gonna paraphrase badly, but, like,
yeah,
talking about how, you know, uh, being like a man of God is not done in church, and praying is not
yeah,
done in church, it's done in
yeah,
real life.
yeah. It's a very because Scorsese has shown this throughout his films, but he has a lot of faith.
Mhm.
He's Catholic, so a lot of his movies have dealt with that in many ways, some more than others. Obviously, The Last Temptation of Christ literally talks about,
Right.
Jesus Christ. But in many of the films, including this one, is kind of starting that up, is like
Yeah.
his faith, his upbringing. It's like, this is what I was taught from my parents, and I'm kind of showing it in this film that's dealing with people who are fucking insane. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of what this is. This came out in 73, so like Godfather just came out. The mob genre is still new.
Look, not only did Godfather just came out,
Yeah,
the mob genre is just been invented.
right.
You gotta understand, like, John Gotti was killed within 5 years of this movie's release.
Fuck, man.
So, like, it was the stories we see on screen that we all know in the
Yeah,
mob genre
yeah,
were being written at this time still.
yeah.
The late '60s, early '70s.
Mhm.
These are the Columbos. These are the movies that are still being made today.
Yeah.
The Alto Nights, shit like that.
Yeah,
They're
literally.
covering what was happening in this time.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the mob genre is in its infancy, and what we have the version we have is The Godfather, this
Yeah,
polished, classy family.
right.
So, for Scorsese to make a movie that depicts the life of a low-level crime, somebody who's, like, connected, but,
Right.
like, very far from Don Corleone.
No, yeah.
These guys are just looking to make enough money to spend at the bar every night.
Exactly.
So this movie walks so Sopranos can run,
Yep.
Donnie Brasco can run.
Yep.
These kinds of movies, like, it's a take on the mob that had definitely never been done at the time,
Mhm.
and on paper doesn't sound very interesting. Like, Godfather just came out. We want the bosses in suits.
Exactly. It's this typical type of format where people are like, "Oh, it's a mob movie. It has to be Godfather." It was the same thing De Palma had to deal with Scarface, where it's just like, "No, this is completely different."
Yeah.
Scorsese's mob films always felt more dirty
Yeah.
compared to Coppola's. You know what I mean?
For
Coppola's
sure.
Godfather trilogy always felt refined. It felt like a wine bottle type of thing.
Yes.
Whereas Scorsese's was like the flask.
Yeah.
You take a swig out of it and stuff, and it really shows. But it's not like dirty in the sense of like the camera shots and stuff like that. Because you look at the coverage and a lot of conversations with like Harvey Keitel and the other guys, the camera's moving, the dolly tracks and stuff like that. Like
Lots of great movement in this film.
amazing. And
Yeah.
like you said, this movie's pretty fucking low budget too. So the fact that they were able to pull a lot of this off, given the resources, is just amazing. Performances and everything.
Yeah. Exactly. I think the camera work, obviously there's a lot of shaky
A
cam, a
lot of
lot of
blurry shots.
handheld, some blurry shots. But I think that's like a reflection of the budget. Like, look, this film looks like it cost
Yeah.
$500,000. That doesn't mean it's bad. Like,
Mm.
with good filmmaking, a good story, it can work. This isn't my
Yeah.
favorite Scorsese film by any
No.
means, and we'll kind of get into how we feel about this film.
Yes.
But I just want to keep going on like our first impressions of it,
Of course.
because this was your first watch of it,
Yep.
right?
First watch.
My first watch as well. Like I said earlier, we'd obviously seen the poster. I've seen clips of
Mhm.
this film, and
Yeah.
kind of sparked De Niro's career. So I've
Yep.
seen like him crashing out many
Yeah.
times
Oh,
in
absolutely.
scenes. But the story of this film,
Yes.
we established the characters. Is great introductions. There's great performances in this movie,
Mhm.
and you see a lot of potential from like this great young cast.
Right.
The story of this movie is a little bit confusing.
It's all over the place. I feel like it's just kind of vibing.
It's all vibes.
Yeah.
Like what actually kind of happens in this movie? I don't really know. It's more just
Yeah.
like I loved your letterbox review. If you can read that out, I think it sums it out
Well, basically,
quite perfectly.
what I talked about is like this is Scorsese's first ever introduction and stuff, but the whole movie just feels like Harvey Keitel's character trying to stop De Niro's character from going goblin mode every 10 minutes.
That's it.
Because De Niro is just insane in this film.
De Niro's just like a crash out, like that fucking friend you can't drink around because you know he's gonna start a bar fight.
Like, yeah.
But just sober, that's how he is. He's a degenerate. And he plays it really well.
Oh, he's so good. He looks so young in this, man.
I know. And it's like, what? Godfather 2 came out the next year.
Yeah.
Why does he look like so different in that movie?
I think it's because Scorsese couldn't afford a hairdresser
Okay.
because he
Yeah.
just looks like raggedy and stuff. He's
Yeah,
got
just
like the
wears the
suit.
hat all the time too. Also, his acting in this movie, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say like I think it's a good performance. He
Yeah.
plays like a good crazy.
Mhm.
But from this movie to Godfather 2, I think
Oh, it's a big difference.
I'm not sure I see this movie and I say he could do what he did in Godfather 2. He could play young Vito.
No.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
Maybe Coppola felt differently, and I'm glad he did, because obviously his performance in Godfather 2 is like incredible.
Yeah.
He wins the Oscar. He says like 9 words in English. He doesn't
Exactly.
even know Italian.
Yeah, it's amazing. But also, like, given direction, given experience, I feel like Keitel is the more refined character. I think it's because of the fact that he is the main character of this film. No matter how they kind of explain it and stuff, Keitel
Yeah.
is kind of the one that's like bringing everyone together. And he's got his relationship, he's got the mob boss, he's
I love
talking
it.
and shit. It's great. It's great. But also, there's like the three other characters that are just like on the sidelines. De Niro's being like the one that outshines them all.
Right.
Which
Because
is
he has like the most exciting scenes, I think.
Yeah, but the issue with that, though, in my opinion, for the film is that you establish these four characters. Keitel is the main character. The other three, De Niro's pretty big, and then the other two are just kind of, oh, we're here now. We're at the
Yeah.
bar, you know. Like I feel like the most wasted character is Michael, the one
Yeah.
that like asks, like, "Hey, Johnny, where the fuck's my money?"
Yeah.
And Johnny's like, "Hey, here's your money. I'm gonna light it in front of you, you stupid fuck." And I'm like,
That's a great movie.
What?
There's great set pieces in this movie.
Yeah.
I love how like between 1973 and 1974, De Niro was just like running on rooftops like all the time.
Oh yeah, literally.
De Niro
That
just
was
had 2 years of like if you like supercut all the rooftops that he's run on, it's got to be like half an hour's worth of film in
absolutely.
these 2 years.
Oh my fucking god. But also I feel like Godfather 2 was when he fully like became a great actor.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. I feel like
Yeah.
his improvement in this 1 year alone is like one of the biggest jumps I've seen to like,
Yeah.
oh, he took it to another level and stayed there and only progressed.
Because it kind of shows in this, because Scorsese casts him as like the bad one of the bunch, the bad apple.
Right.
Keitel's the main character. He casted Keitel in his first ever film, so he's more used to
Right.
him. But around this point, he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe he's got something. And then Taxi Driver was when you got it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like the prototype of that. You kind of see little bits and pieces of it, like when he's yelling at Keitel and his girlfriend and stuff, and at like the stairwell.
Mhm.
That's a great scene. I fucking love that scene. It's basically like him and his girlfriend being like, "Where the fuck is Johnny?" Like this guy's
Yeah.
just running on rooftops and doing crack, and it's just like get him off. He's got a gun.
It's
Like
the most chaotic mob movie I've ever seen in my life. If you even call it's a crime. I don't even know. Like they never use the word mob.
no,
They never say like the typical mob lingo that we've learned. And maybe that wasn't even established that much here. Like
yeah,
you know,
it's
you
still
think about
fairly
that, like,
new.
you don't hear like capo or like
No.
underboss or like Don in this movie. You don't hear connected
Yeah.
or made guy. You don't really hear that.
But you sense it from like the main, like the older guy when Keitel's talking to him, especially at the restaurant and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like this feels like Scorsese's trying to do his Godfather.
Of course,
you
yeah.
know, but
And I love Keitel's character because he's like a good church boy,
yeah,
but he's just like he's kind of like in this organized crime just because his uncle is like the boss.
Yeah, literally.
There's like no other reason, but he still
Mhm.
has this like Catholic guilt and innocence to him.
Right.
I think it's a really unique character and one that we don't see in the genre very much.
Not really. That whole arc with him and his girlfriend, they're hiding the fact and stuff from the mob boss, kinda doesn't really go anywhere by the end.
Yeah.
It just kinda like, "Oh, we're here," but then it's like, "Oh,
But he
let's."
always feels like a good guy.
Yeah,
Like
compared to the other ones, yeah.
like always feels like a good guy, you
Mhm.
know? Like there's the Catholic guilt and you're like, "Oh, okay, this guy's innocent enough." And there's
Right,
the 100 times that he covers for Johnny and Johnny keeps,
right.
fucking him over
Yeah.
and how his like loyalty and even his relationship,
Mhm.
you root for this guy throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
You definitely do.
You definitely do, and it's just kinda like, I wanted more of that because
Yeah.
I feel like it's either you go more with Keitel's character or you focus on all 4 of the characters.
Mhm.
You gotta do one or the other. I feel like Goodfellas perfectly did that.
Right.
Goodfellas perfectly did that, Casino perfectly did that, or if you just do the singular character, you get Taxi Driver. That's perfect on its own, you focus on him.
True.
Whereas this, Scorsese's like, "I wanna do both."
Yeah.
I wanna try to do some weird, cool camera movements, like when they're drunk and stuff. I want that, like, Keitel just, like, looking around the party as he's drunk and then he falls on the ground. Like, it's a really cool shot, and it's something that you
That's right.
never saw at the time, but, like, what are we getting out of these characters by the end of it? Especially the other 2 that get sidelined.
Right. As far as character arcs go, I think there's a little bit more to be desired in
Yeah.
this movie.
Mhm. I would say so. But there's so many cool moments, like the pool table fight. That is
Oh
so
my
funny.
god, the way that they're just getting dragged from corner to corner. I just like couldn't believe it kept going. Like, there's one corner, there's two corners, and then it's like, "Oh, this is WWE."
Basically. Well, no, it's also just funny because it's like, because of how low the budget is, it's like, okay, just like rough him up, like do one of these, do one of those. And like the bigger
Yeah,
guy's like, hey, listen, all right, let's not fight again. All right. I paid the cops. He pays the cops, man. And then he
that's
punches
a
him again.
that's a great scene too. The
Fucking
ending of
hilarious.
that when they pay off the cops,
Yeah.
and then he goes and they
Holy
fight again.
fuck. You come back here, I'm gonna fucking kill you again, you son of a bitch. I love that actor. I don't know his name, but he seems like a veteran in terms of like the amount of schlock films he was in around that time.
Yeah, it's
You know
pretty
what I mean?
it's pretty incredible. Another thing, let's talk about some of the things that this movie pioneers.
Absolutely.
We got into like the low level mobster, it definitely pioneers that, and like, you know, it like you see the Sopranos influence so heavily in this film.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it makes that casting even better, like
Yeah.
the David Proval one.
Oh yeah.
Because you're like now I look at Sopranos and I'm like, oh, they were just like they love Mean Streets and here's a little Easter egg for
Yeah.
if you know, you know.
Oh
From the
yeah.
first film that did a low level mobster, like you could like connect these films and be like, yeah, this is what he's up to now.
Oh
It's the same
yeah.
character.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
It's the same character. It's low level mobster. Like you
Oh,
could totally believe, like, cut his scenes out and call it a prequel for Richie Aprile.
I'd rather watch that than the fucking Many Saints of Newark, I'll tell you that
But
much.
it's facts. It's the
It's
same
true.
character, and I love that. And I thought about that during the movie. I'm like, oh my god, this is like a Richie Aprile prequel,
Yeah.
and I love it. But
Yeah, he's great in it. I really like his moments where De Niro's just like, "Hey, put it on the tab, put it on
yeah,
the," and he's smiling because he's like, "This guy
this
is
motherfucker.
fucked.
Yeah.
He's fucked."
So like, what I think this movie, I'm not gonna say it pioneered needle drops in films.
The amount of songs that
From what
play.
I've understood, it's been done. It was done in the late '60s with like movies like Easy Rider.
Oh, Easy Rider, yeah, for sure.
But this movie doesn't have a score.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It just needle drop after needle drop, which Scorsese becomes pretty famous for.
Oh yeah,
And
for
in this
sure.
one, it works really well, especially with such a low budget to just like, no, I'm gonna get these songs.
That's fucking nuts, man. Because these songs are iconic even for '73. Like,
Yeah.
how much money did he have to spend to put it in?
Yeah, I wonder how much of the budget went to that because there's definitely some recognizable songs in this movie. And it just starts with a needle drop.
Yeah, the beginning of the movie is one
Beautiful.
of my favorites because then if you watch the beginning of this movie with the title crawl, with the credits and everything, and the old 8 millimeter footage, B-roll footage
Yeah,
or whatever with Harvey Keitel, you think to yourself, "Wow, this is what started it for Scorsese." Like literally,
you
this
see
is
it.
he used it in Raging Bull. He used this montage theory in every single one of his movies, and it just kind of this is the seed. And it's so awesome seeing that. Even if
I
it's not
know.
my favorite, like it's such a weird moment to watch this and be like, man, he really refined this shit, man.
I know.
It's like to a T.
It's fucking inspiring, man,
Yep.
because a guy like Scorsese, like, I don't know, like, I just have him in such a high regard in my head that it's
Yeah.
like, you think he was just born understanding how to make a film like this or like
Yeah.
make a film like Goodfellas. And just
Which
to see the like the rough around the edges version, that's like, no, he just fucking tried and
yeah.
tried and tried and got better.
Yep. This is his third film doing it. A lot of people talk about Mean Streets when they refer to Scorsese starting his career. He had 2 feature films, a shit ton of short films. We didn't even talk about his short films that he
Right.
made in college and film
True.
school and whatever. And it's just like if he didn't make Mean Streets, he wouldn't have a book about him. He
That's
wouldn't
right.
have anybody talking about him. And that's the reality of like not giving up where Scorsese was just like, I want to keep making movies. I just got to figure out what my voice is, what my style is. And it took 3 films for him to realize what his style is. Because right after Mean Streets, he does Taxi Driver, even bigger and more critically successful than Mean Streets was.
Right. He follows up this film with Taxi Driver, which is like
That's the one that really got him even bigger, I would say. Mean Streets was kind of like the birth of it, where it's just like, okay, let's give you some money now.
right, exactly.
You
It,
know?
it didn't make that much money when it came out.
No.
Like I read that it made 3 million domestically,
Yeah.
but that took a long time. It wasn't
Yes.
like a big opening weekend movie.
Mhm.
There wasn't 5 movies coming out every weekend
No.
at this time, right? So
Yeah.
Mean Streets played in theaters for a longer time
Yeah.
and made this 3 million over a period of months, I
Right.
assume, right?
Word of mouth definitely came to it, but this was the first Scorsese film that didn't lose money. This was the one
Right.
where the studios was like, okay, like Warner Brothers produced this, distributed this film. So they're like, okay, let's give you a little bit more money. So they worked on Taxi Driver. And
Yeah.
that's where it kind of birthed it because Taxi Driver went even bigger. Then you get Raging Bull. Then you get so many films that Scorsese continued to do with this style and kind of just evolved it,
Yeah, he
which I
definitely did.
I really fucking respect because it's such a great tale of like not giving up and still trying your roots, man, trying out your style.
It was inspiring, man.
Mhm.
Oh, you know what? He actually like in between this and Taxi Driver, he does Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that came out in 74 and Taxi Driver came out
74.
in 76.
Fuck.
So
Okay.
that's the next one he does. So he's
Mhm.
still like kind of taking chances, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
I gotta see that one. That one's on my list too. Alice
Damn.
doesn't live here
Alice
anymore.
does who's in that film? I'm curious because of the fact that like a lot of
That has Christopherson in
oh
it.
fuck yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What? How did I miss that? This is crazy. That's but like I said before, it's like you look at his filmography from the 70s and a lot of people just bring up Mean Streets and Taxi Driver. I just did. I completely missed Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Yeah,
But he's
exactly.
also just been making films consistently since the 70s.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been like a 6-year, 8-year break from him.
No.
He's just like
He's got a classic in every decade, man.
yeah, literally.
He really does.
Holy fuck, man. I really enjoy the fact that like despite its like rough around the edges type of style, you still like kind of vibe with the film. It's very experimental at times
Yeah,
with its shooting
definitely.
and editing.
We haven't even talked about the climax of this film or
Oh
like the
my
ending of
god.
this film, which like to me, like it didn't really build up to something big. Like not really. It was more vibes, you know. The
Yeah, exactly.
the pacing and storytelling in this movie is kind of all over the place, but the
Mhm.
end was like that's enough for me. Like there's the scene where we get the shootout. There, like a kind of a drive-by shooting,
That was
side by
unexpected.
side shooting.
Yeah.
This is one of the best mob hits in film.
Yeah.
I love the way it was shot,
Mhm.
like the way that it
It was so jarring.
it was so jarring.
I was like, what the
and
fuck?
the effect of like the blood coming out of his, it looked so good for the budget of this film.
Yeah.
I don't know how they shot that. Like that sounds like a nightmare to shoot. Like
Yeah.
two cars going down the road and having the shootout.
Right, right.
I love to see young Marty just pulls out the gun.
Yeah.
Young Marty, the shooter in the back. I'm like,
Holy
this is
shit, man.
legendary.
Yeah.
And then it ends pretty unceremoniously from there,
Yeah.
which I kind of enjoyed. I don't
You
know.
kind of
I
enjoyed?
I liked it because it left a lot of mystery. It's like, is Johnny alive? Uh, what's happening after this? Like, I
Mhm.
felt like it left me wanting to know how this story wraps up.
Yeah, I kind of felt a little bit I'm a little mixed on it.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
a little mixed on the ending because I feel like I said before, Keitel's character, Charlie, you know, they give him so many choices
Yeah.
in this film. Like, what about the black woman and stuff? Like that he really wanted to go out with, but gets
Right.
nervous because like, I don't know, I don't think the guys would like or whatever.
Mhm.
And then like it cuts to her at the end of the movie, and it's just like, what are they gonna do with that? Are they gonna do something? And then he's like, no, never mind. And then it just cuts to black. I was like, like, I don't know. I just felt like you were offering something that could have been intriguing. Like, what if
Yeah.
he was having an affair with his girlfriend during that time? And then that's the reveal or something. But it's just a car accident. I was like, I don't know. Like, to me, it was shocking.
It was a shocking
The
scene.
ending was made to shock the audience into being like, because for the most part, the movie is pretty intense,
Yeah.
but never that intense.
Right.
That's when it fucking hits you, and you're just like, your jaw is dropped. It's just like, what the
But,
fuck?
like, I understand it, like, leaving the theater and that's the last scene you saw,
Yeah,
you're gonna remember this movie, right? So I think Martin understood that, and I think that's
fair.
the reason that this became kind of his breakout movie
Yeah.
is because that ending is unique. Like, I don't think audiences were used to that
No,
in
no.
1973 at all.
Yeah.
Even watching it now, I was not prepared for that. It's not what, typically happens. It
Mhm.
didn't really set up for that.
Yeah.
So overall, I think Mean Streets is very rough around the edges, but
Yeah.
also so beautiful to watch.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say if you've never seen a Scorsese movie, it's the first one you should go see.
No.
But when you know his work and then you go back to see this, it's like getting to see one of his college projects.
Mhm. Yeah. It's kinda like that because he's very young when he's making this film, and you just kinda respect the hell out of that
Yeah,
because of the fact that a lot of the styles that he puts into this, he still uses today
absolutely.
in his
And
work.
so does everybody else, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But that's the inspiration type of thing where it's just like, you keep going and you work on this sort of thing, people get inspired by your work, even when you're just kinda, like, trying to figure out what you wanna do. Personally, for me, like, I really enjoyed moments of this movie. I just feel like the shock value, the experimental moments didn't it wasn't on par with the character moments, and the character moments work a lot better in future Scorsese films, which I think he even understands.
For sure. For sure. There's definitely a lot of growth that there's still Scorsese still has to grow a lot from here, and he
Yeah,
does, and we've
absolutely.
seen all of those, but it's just so cool to see this. It's definitely one I recommend watching. I wouldn't say it's the most rewatchable or
No.
anything like that. Overall, I think 3 out of 5 stars, like a strong 6 out of 10
Yeah.
is what I got from Mean Streets.
Same here, 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10. It's not Scorsese's best work, but it's the one that started it all,
Yeah,
and I just respect the hell out of it. I think that would inspire filmmakers in a way to be like, "You know what? It might not be his strongest, but makes me wanna make something." You
absolutely. Me
know?
too. Yeah. Let us know in the comments if you've seen Mean Streets. What's your review? Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe to your boys. It means the world to us. And most importantly, don't forget to take care, brush your hair.
Peace.